Good evening. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. This meeting will be conducted in person in the Sanford Council chambers and via remote video and teleconference pursuant to 1 MRSA Sections 403B 2D and Section 6 of the Sanford City Council Rules of Procedure. Members of the public may join the meeting by phone by dialing the numbers that have been provided on the internet. Members of the public may also submit comments via the City of Sanford website at www.sanfordmaine.org under Government/City Council/Contact the Council. Would you please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you please join me for a moment of silence? And now for roll call. Deputy Mayor Herlihy.
Present.
Councilor Stackpole.
Present.
Council Hanselman.
Present.
And Council Martell has an excused absence today. He's taking a due vacation. And Council Trenchmontagne.
Present.
Councilor Hitchcock.
Present.
And I, Mayor Brink. And also present online as City Manager Steve Buck. And the Executive Administrator Larissa Ricketts is right here. And let's take a look at our minutes in order to approve the minutes from the regular City Council meeting held on August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Ann?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
And do I have a second? Pete?
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? And nobody's opposed, so thank you. In order to approve the minutes from the executive session of the City Council held at 5 p.m. on August 20th, 24. Do I have a motion? Nate?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Pete?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Excellent. And then in order to approve the minutes from the executive session of City Council held on 8:30 p.m. on August 20th, 24. Do I have a motion? Ann?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
And do I have a second? Nate?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much. And now for the mayor's report. And I would, first of all, like to thank Ann, because Ann provided me with a lot of this information for the mayor's report, so thank you very much. And it's going to come under Did You Know? Because some of you might remember a while ago I did a comment on Did You Know? And it was all about the new businesses and everything that were coming to Sanford, or that were already here. So this is going to be about the businesses in our industrial park in South Sanford. Let me start by talking about the Industrial Development Corporation and its history. Here's their mission statement: to promote and enhance the cultural and economic aspects of the greater Sanford community. This will be accomplished by utilizing the Board of Directors' diverse backgrounds and experience to provide leadership and, when appropriate, to assess the corporation as a catalyst to promote and enhance its objectives. The IDC was formed after the original, from the original information from the charter in 1959. So this is almost as old as me. The initial investment from the sale of bonds was the development of the industrial area off Eagle Drive. So that's how they purchased that. The first occupant of the park was Cyril, hence probably the name of the road. Current occupants of the industrial park off Cyril and Eagle Drive are primarily in manufacturing and export most of the items outside Sanford. So here's the list, and I was surprised at how many people are there. Huzzy Seating, YCCC, Tom's of Maine, Flemish National Weavers, Volk Packing, Maine Health Cancer Center, York Manufacturing, and that's copper flashing. Let's see. Advanced Manufacturing Products, and that's construction materials. Rubb, and that's building and airport hangars. Baker Industry, that's medical cabinets. Atlantic Pump, and Ecto, if I said that right, because that probably all stands for something, manufacturing. Wisely Cannabis. And here are some future plans for the area. YCCC and the IDC are working on expansion for workforce development and the local demands. And I think you might have read this in the paper, that they got this big grant, and that will help Bath Iron Works, the shipyard, and Pratt Whitney. The IDC also recently invested in additional land for the industrial development of 30 acres. This is going to be split into 5 parcels, and they'll prepare the lots for development. So that's exciting. It is really interesting to know just how fast Sanford is growing and how many businesses and industries and stuff are coming to our community. So if you wonder what's going on, take a ride down there and go in some of those roads, and you'll see what's happening. Now, let's move on. We didn't have any subcommittee meetings? I didn't think so.
I wouldn't mind making a comment just quickly about the comprehensive plan process.
Sure.
We're going to be having a presentation, I believe, soon by our planner, but just to let everybody know, we've had several meetings of the comprehensive plan, some great data gathering and information. It's quite overwhelming. They're all televised. I encourage the city council and others in the community to look at the data and the information, because it is going to guide heavily how we plan for growth in our community. And I believe we're looking at a public hearing and a first presentation to the City Council of the work, and then a public hearing coming up in the next 2 months. So keep that in mind. I think she's still finalizing a couple of the dates. Thank you.
All right. One more thing before we move on about the mayor's report. It has come to my attention that and won't get the name of the cemetery correct. It's the one by MCS. Oakdale. There's been a concern about the mowing of those grounds, and so I'm going to be taking a look at that just to see what's going on, and to also look into the manpower. If you remember, and we have to be very careful when we budget, because sometimes we cut the budget so much that we can't hire people to do certain things. So I'll work with Steve next week, because Steve's on vacation, as you can see. He's got a nice tan. And we'll see what's happening with that, because I know there are some citizens that are concerned about that area. So we'll be checking into that and finding out just what's going on. And some people did not live here in Sanford, so I wanted to make sure that we could cover all of them too and respect, because even though they don't live here, they might have people there. And Pete, you had a comment?
Yeah, that was a mess down there, my grandparents' graves. It was pretty disrespectful, the mowing. Not sure what's going on, but we will find out why, and we'll get back to everybody. Thank you.
And Nate?
Just a brief comment on that, if I may, Madam Mayor. I am a member of the Recreation Advisory Committee, which is not an official subcommittee of the city, so I didn't give a report about that. I was going to make a comment at the end of the meeting, but figured it's a good time. We met, I believe, on the third Wednesday of the month, and I was advised that a seasonal hire was added just recently to assist in Oakdale Cemetery.
Fantastic.
So I think there's some, he's currently being trained, but it looks like things are going well. So there was an update on
So it should be taken care of. Because I know that we had some trouble with some of the properties along Main Street and getting those also mowed. And we have one excellent employee. He took their own time and went and did some of that stuff. So we have some pretty dedicated people, but we just didn't have enough staff. So thank you for giving us that information. Maura, did you have, I know you're on that committee
Yeah, I'm on
also.
the Oakdale Cemetery Committee. So when the news station called me, I went by, and the cemetery actually looked very good. I made a comment to them, a couple things. One, that cemetery has a lot of massive pines, and they get pretty hit hard with big storms. The ice storm in the late spring actually severely impacted Oakdale, and with the lack of staffing, made it difficult to clean up the cemetery. They got it done, but it made it difficult. Mowing, I want everybody to remember, because we all have lawns. Our lawns burned And then all of a sudden, the rain came and they started growing really fast and furious. We all had trouble keeping up on our lawns. And if you're short-staffed at a cemetery, it's that much more difficult. That's a lot of ground to cover in order to maintain. So I think we need to be careful when we get complaints in that we look at the entire time frame and the picture and what the situation is before we jump and get angry, because sometimes the situation is unique. The storm was unique, and I think that we know, I saw trees falling everywhere. We all know it was really difficult. And then the dry to the crazy lawns, it happened to me at my house. It never looks as like crazy as it looked once everything started to grow. So that's all I ask of everybody as we are discussing with the public, because you're right, we want the cemeteries to look beautiful. And I went by last Friday and he was mowing the last section for the weekend, so it was looking good.
All right.
And don't step in the geese poop.
And I thought it was important because I know the reason we have the rule that it's Sanford citizens and Sanford Springvale, who can talk under public comment is because this whole group up here is elected by Sanford Springvale citizens. We represent the citizens here. We don't represent Kennebunk or Gunquit or any other place. I would not go into their meetings to speak. But what I would do, because I would like to give people who don't live here an out on how you can speak to people. You can either email me about the situation, or you can email Steve. This is the perfect person to email Larissa, because she follows through with everything, even if you can't get a hold of us. And sometimes some of the email gets blocked, because if it comes through and some people put an attachment on and it looks like it's some type of spam type thing, and our email will block it. So don't give up. But you can always, don't put attachments on. Email us directly or Larissa, and she knows who's in charge of what. And like with the cemetery, she would know who's in charge of the cemetery where I might not. So that information would get passed on. So, and just like the Main Street, we got that mowed. I got a call from a citizen, and then I called Steve, and he took care of that immediately. So hopefully we can cover everything as a council, even if you aren't a resident here. I did hear, I definitely heard, and I checked into it. So just to let you know, we do care. All right, so let's move on. And did we cover all with that? We're all set? Okay. So Steve, do you have, I know you're on vacation, do you have a report tonight?
I do have a brief report.
Oh, I am so jealous. You have been in the sun.
If I could share, please, I'll put it up on the screen while I'm reading that. Okay, just a moment here.
Okay, is he sharing?
Steve,
I will be in just a second.
I'll give you host if you can give me co-host, please.
No, just co-host is fine, so I'm just trying to find the document here.
Okay, because you are a co-host. I can also share it on screen here if you'd prefer, Steve.
There, do I have that now?
Yep.
Okay. The first piece is the voting ward consolidation. The city's clerk office submitted the council's vote and the supporting materials to consolidate from 3 wards to 1 to the new Sanford High School at 100 Alumni Drive. The Secretary of State's office received all required documents on August 7th. The city has now received confirmation pursuant to Title 21A, Section 631-A of the consolidation and the location approval. Secretary of State's office noted the following, that the notice and public hearing was held 90 days prior to the next election, which was a requirement. Physical accessibility of the voting place has been met. General access and voting place layout has been met as well. I noted from the confirmation that Sanford has 13,000 registered voters in active status. The state requires a minimum number of booth counts of 65, and we will have 82 on that day, as well as additional tabulators to expedite the lines. Notification to voters, this seems to be a big question. The city has posted on its website. It's been posted in social media. Both the Sanford Springvale News and the Reporter have run stories on the consolidation. Channels 13 and 6 have run stories. The Bangor Daily News also ran a story as part of a larger series. Although the tax bills contain an insert with information of the new voting location consolidation to the new high school at 100 Alumni Drive, the city clerks have further prepared a postcard mailing that will go out to every registered voter in Sanford of the change. The card will contain the voted action, address of the consolidated location. There's an updated version that I don't have open here this evening in the report, but it's been updated since they put the report together. The early voting information and contacts are on that card as well as the transportation option through York County Community Action Corporation. If that's approved by the council tonight, that will be on the card as well. Cards will be printed and mailed and will be received prior to the start of early voting to ensure that people are informed of their options in the day of voting changes. So here's the example of the card itself. Of course, the postage information. The backside has changed. Jordan has updated that. The section here that talks about the early voting information has been significantly updated with much more information and voting options in there as well. So that will go out again to every registered voters, because I know I received a question here recently. The tax bills, it was indicating that the information on the tax bills may have been missed, and or what about if somebody is a renter? So that covers that question, that every voter will get a copy of the postcard in their mail. There's quite a number of series of pending meetings. I wanted to speak about the housing forum. The city will host a public meeting on September 24th. Well, it should be 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers to review the past year's work on housing, as well as engage in a dialogue around current issues involving housing, the unhoused, and what future actions can be taken to improve housing options within our city. We're going to be hosting a planning meeting on September 10th, which will finalize the scope of the workshop. Any program and agenda will be issued thereafter. The next is a fire station construction public forum. A question and answer session is scheduled for the Sanford Performing Arts Center on October 2nd at 6 p.m. The forum will start with a presentation of the two stations, the need, the design, and the cost. The forum will then be opened up to the floor for attendees to ask questions about the stations and the associated elements, such as renovations versus new, why the size, why the cost, why the design, or any other questions they may want to have answered before the November 5th, 2024 referendum vote. The forum will be recorded and will be rebroadcast once complete. We also have a homeless advocacy meeting with the state legislators and elected officials. This will be the second of the homeless advocacy forums, which will be held at the Sanford Performing Arts Center as well. That's scheduled for November 13th at 6 p.m. We're doing it on November 13th because the elections will be on November 5th, so we'll know who our state legislators are going to be for the next session, as well as our local elected officials will be known after that date. We seek the information around the status of the unhoused within York County will be conveyed, as well as a report of the impacts of last year's efforts by the state, as well as those of us within the region. The timing is such that it's between the election of November 5th, the state legislatures, and the cloture date, which will be late December. So that gives time for us to report out to the legislators, work with them on any pending legislation that might be submitted prior to the closure date for submitting said legislation. Our highways, our roads, Director Hill has submitted a grant application through his work on the Safe Streets for All, or the SS4A. He submitted for a pilot project to increase the level of technology for the currently being installed traffic lights throughout the city. The increased technology will include a series of mid-block traffic sensors coupled to improved software that will better time and retime lights dependent upon the specific movement of traffic between the lights, as seen by the increased number of sensors. The premise is to improve traffic safety and also improve the mobility capacity of our streets through the use of technology, as opposed to having to try and widen them or increase the lanes. We also have the Heads Up Safety Grant that's been in the work for a couple of years. The design work was completed by Matt Provencher, the city's assistant engineer. Our selected vendor is scheduled to be in the city in September, and they will be making improvements to all of our crosswalks throughout the city to include new signage and some signalization as well. We also have another public meeting that's scheduled for September 11th. That's the RAISE grant. The Maine Department of Transportation will come to Sanford at the City Hall in the council chambers and will present the 80% design, and they will be there to answer questions about the project that will reconstruct Sanford's downtown streets. So they'll be doing a live presentation for this final formal public meeting. The meeting will give the information about the proposed project as well as take input from the public. MDOT invites and encourages you to attend the meeting in person. Again, it's Wednesday, September 11th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. in the council chambers. It will also be a hybrid meeting and it will be broadcast as such. You can contact Ernie Martin, who is a senior project manager with the Maine Department of Transportation, as I have here below, with any questions prior to the meeting or any questions you might have after the meeting. So thank you.
Well, let me quickly go over some of those dates again and make sure I get them all right. September 11th at 6 p.m. is the RAISE grant public hearing right here in the chambers. The next meeting will be October 2nd, which is on the new fire stations we're going to be talking about, and that will be at 6 p.m. at the high school. And November 13th, it'll be about the homelessness, and we're presenting to all of the state representatives and senators, and that's also at the high school. Did I get all that correct, Steve?
You did. Thank you.
All right. And do you have a homelessness update at this time?
We do not, because that was the date of that meeting was the holiday, so there was no meeting this week.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Do councilors have any questions for Steve? No? Okay. Super. Let's move on under communications and presentations and a report on the Seacoast ACE Camp of 2024. And is this Allison? Is she reporting out on this?
Right here.
Oh, come on down. Please introduce yourself and your position.
Yes, good evening. My name is Timothy Lasiege. I'm the interim president of Maine ACE Camp. ACE is short for Aviation Career Education. Some of you may remember me from about a year or so ago. Those of you who don't know me, I have a speech impediment. So when I start stuttering, please finish the word for me so we can be out of here on time. So just want to let you know that. So just a short brief on what Maine ACE Camp is. What Maine ACE Camp offers are a couple of different camps in Maine. One down here at the Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport. We have named that Maine ACE Camp Seacoast. We run Maine ACE Camp Midcoast, which is run out of the Brunswick Executive Airport, and Maine ACE Camp North, which is actually run out of Camp Roosevelt in Eddington, Maine. The camps run by we have different age groups for each camp. Maine ACE Camp North is all high school students, so you have to be entering high school or in high school to attend. That is a full week camp overnight. Drop your kids off on Sunday, pick them up on Saturday. The other two camps are day camps meant for kids 12 to 16. There is a price difference. The day camps, please drop them off by 7:30, pick them up at 6 o'clock at night. That type of camp. Maine ACE Camp, Seacoast, and all the other camps, our whole intent is to teach children about aviation and all the different careers that are available. I can tell you from doing camp for almost 14 years, when you ask the kids, why are you here? How many of you want to be pilots? 95% of them raise their hand, and we're here going, great. This camp is about all the other jobs that are available. Aviation, people think, pilot, yeah, they're the forefront, but there's so many things that we offer up. A&P mechanics, engineering, aircraft tower, Department of Defense. There's a whole list. So what we do is we don't just talk about the jobs, we introduce them to people that do the jobs. So as you notice here, we give them that networking. So when we're down here at Seacoast, we introduce them to a bunch of different companies in the York County area and as far north as Portland. We give them mentors. We give them people to meet, people they can talk to. We bring in professional guest speakers from different companies. We give them tours. So we leave the airport for a couple of days and give them fantastic tours. We have private pilots that drop in. We give them aircraft rides, and we definitely try to give them some hands-on with these jobs. So I do want to go pretty much our week here at Sanford Seacoast. We met with York County Emergency Management, who uses drone technology, and a lot of people go, what's a drone have to do with aviation? In order to sell or operate drones commercially, you have to have a pilot's license, or at least a partial pilot's license. So that is regulated by the FAA, and hence it's aviation. So the kids got the opportunity to talk with the officers and folks there about different careers that York County has, that is aviation-based. Then we moved on to Life Flight of Maine. As you know, Sanford Seacoast hosts one of 3 branches of Maine, Life Flight of Maine. The other 2 are up in Auburn, Lewiston, and Bangor. Both of the other camps also visit Life Flight of Maine. In there, you'll find aviation professionals of A&P mechanics, obviously the pilots, EMTs, and what it takes to run that organization. So we get them to meet them. As you can see here, we gave them a little bit of, or folks at Life Flight gave them a little bit of hands-on. Kids were able to climb into that helicopter, sit behind the stick, see what everything looked like in there, and talk to those professionals as well. Then we talked with your staff, city employees Allison Navia and her staff at the Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport, what it takes to manage an airport, a general aviation airport like you have here. Sanford is one of the busiest airports in the state on pure counts of aircraft operations. It may not be the busiest for enplanements, which is people who buy tickets, because you cannot buy a ticket down at Sanford, but they are one of the busiest in a number of landings, number of takeoffs in Maine. And Allison runs a pretty tight ship. I've known her for years personally in prior jobs. The kids were able to sit beside your truck drivers and take a little ride in the SRE equipment. Or, sorry, if I hit you with alphabet soup, please step up. I try not to do it. SRE is snow removal equipment there, so the kids learn that aviation actually requires truck drivers with CDLs and maintaining the airport, plowing the runways, mowing the lawns, equipment maintenance on the lights and everything else, painting runways, crack sealing, the construction side. This is one of the first pictures you'll see of all of our students. We had 10 students this year. One of them from Camden, Maine. He was supposed to go to Brunswick but was sick, so we had him come down here to Sanford. So he had gone to Mid-Coast last year, so he's been to 2 of our camps, 2 different camps, to see what the differences are. Then we spent a day with Southern Maine Aviation. Fantastic folks there, have allowed us to use their hangar as our base of operations to hold their meetings. So they open up a hangar where we meet every day. So we kind of take over their hangar, and that's a little bit of a loss of business for them because they can't use it for anything else but us. So they're fantastic to work with. They gave the kids hands-on experience of an A&P mechanic. The proper wire twisting that goes on, the nuts and the bolts and everything else, sheet metal riveting, everything else. So you can see the kids here doing the hands-on that we did there. We had a presenter from the FAA. Ed Cormier is the STEM advisor for the New England region of FAA. Ed brings in some drones for the kids to play with. He has also brought in flight simulators, so Ed does a great job with that. He's one of our biggest ties to the FAA down here. We took a trip up to the Portland Jetport. We do want to highlight Maine businesses. I'll tell you a little bit why I just said that. So we meet with Paul Bradbury, who's the manager up there, airport director. We meet with the ARF, Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting, to show them the fire trucks, which are different than what you have in town. Northeast Air gave the kids a great barbecue lunch. Little bit of excitement. We work with TSA, so we go behind the scenes with TSA. You folks drop your luggage off, and that's the last time you see it until you reach your destination. The kids got to see what happens with that luggage and all the different people that interact with that, which not many people get to see, but we get to do that at the airports and with Maine Ace Camp. Interesting story, when we were at the ARF, we walked in to talk to the fire chief and the firefighters, and we weren't in there for more than 3 minutes. When the tone went off, the fire department got called out on a call. We got escorted out of the building because we can't be in it when there's nobody there. An aircraft had a flat tire right in the middle of the 2 runways at the jetport. Airport shut down, fire trucks went out. So we had to come back, we had to cut our visit short. Went to Northeast Air. The staff we were supposed to meet there was out on the runway aiding the downed aircraft. It was perfectly fine, just a flat tire. So we kind of waited for them. So the kids actually got to see all of this in action at the jetport. Traffic was stuck, everything else. So it was kind of neat. So the kids got to see all those different jobs. Then we went to Pease, Portsmouth, so we kind of stepped out of Maine's boundaries. Excuse me. And we met with the folks at PlaneSense. PlaneSense is a company where you have fractional ownership of aircraft, and they hire pilots, kind of like charter buses. So the pilots fly people all over on vacation. So people own a part of that airplane, they take a trip to Vegas or the Bahamas, PlaneSense gives you the pilot, and the pilot goes with you and brings you back and things like that. So neat little company to work for. So they got the full tour of that, along with some very nice jets. We also met with New Hampshire Air National Guard. The kids got a tour of the KC-46 refueling jet that they have there, and met some of the DoD staff. They also got to participate in a KC-46 simulator, which is very cool to do. So for all of you adults in the room, no, we do not have an ACE camp for adults yet. People ask me every year, that's cool, can we do that as an adult? And I keep thinking, how are we going to get away with this one? It is very neat and fun to do. Then we spent a little bit more time right here at San Francisco Regional Airport. We had a presentation by Rob Montgomery, one of your local pilots, taught the kids about weather, and there are jobs in weather for the FAA, and weather is very important in aviation. We talked to the Civil Air Patrol about the different jobs available there within Civil Air Patrol and what they can offer the kids. They do things for kids that adults can't do, so they can kind of learn to fly with Civil Air Patrol as well. So we try to encourage that a little bit. Then we went over to Pine Tree Helicopters, which is one of your homegrown companies here. The owner-operator of Pine Tree Helicopters, Parker Montano. I don't know if any of you have met Parker. Parker is a former ACE Camp student of mine. So I knew when Parker was just a kid. I watched him grow up through Maine Ace Camp. Maine Ace Camp North, he came back as a counselor, came back as an assistant with us, opened Pine Tree Helicopter, and Parker was the reason why we have a Maine Ace Camp here in Sanford. He's the impetus on growing a new camp for us. So if you guys have not gone for a helicopter ride, go see Parker at Pine Tree Helicopter. He'll also be at the Freiburg Fair. And no, that's not a paid advertisement from Parker. So Parker, if you're watching or you hear this, you owe me one. So, I mean, it's a great group down there. the director for Maine Age Camp Seacoast, Cindy Daigle. She set up the whole schedule with help from Parker Montano, Rob Montgomery, and Sue Tholen. A couple of them work right here at Southern Maine Aviation for teaching kids for flight lessons. And that pretty much wrapped up our week. So you can see, we go places, we get them to meet a lot of people. I did not mention, there's pictures not here, that's why I'm looking at the pictures, not reading anything. Adam Cutler from Gale Associates. Gale Associates is a consultant that designs and helps oversee construction at the airport, one of your consultants. Adam came in and talked about aviation engineering, which is also what I do for a job. I spent 17 years as the Maine aviation engineer at Maine DOT. I'm now a consultant. So I do not work for Gale Associates, but we did not present, so I'm going to refrain from saying, my company saying I'm here on behalf of Maine Age Camp. So that's it. I would encourage you guys to send kids. The camp can take up to 30 kids. That's what we set out to do. That's our max for that. Camp is $500 for 4 days, as is Midcoast. If you have high school students that want to go, that's $1,000 for the week. Those are the prices from 2024. Don't foresee those changing, but they may, only because our prices increase. I will let you know our biggest cost is transportation, buses. Plane Sense was very generous this year. Cindy works for Plane Sense. She's one of their pilots. They were kind enough to donate the use of a 12-passenger van. That kind of limited students. Luckily, we only had 10 students, one driver, and another adult in the van was 12 passengers. So we kind of lucked out on that. Last year, our Maine Age Camp Midcoast, we rent a full-size school bus. We had 10 students, but we also had like 3 adults and things like that. So those costs are roughly $4,000 for 4 days, just about $1,000 a day. So Maine Age Camp is a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We welcome donations and help and sponsorships. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Could you tell me the dates?
This past year was Wednesday, August 14th. I believe that's today. Wednesday, August 14th through August 17th was this year. Maine Age Camp North will usually run the last full week of July.
Okay.
The immediate following week, which is part July, part August, Wednesday through Saturday is Maine Age Camp Midcoast. We try to get Seacoast immediately following that. This year we set off. We had a week in between the Midcoast and Seacoast because Cindy Daigle's schedule didn't allow her to run the camp the immediate following week, so we scheduled it based on her schedule as a director. So I can't speak as to what next year's week is going to be yet for Seacoast. I will tell you, Maine Age Camp North is the last full week of July. Maine Age Camp Midcoast is the immediately following week. And all 3 camps do similar things, but different. Midcoast, you get seaplane rides. Down here, you get helicopter rides. Maine Age Camp North, the high school kids, weather permitting, all these rides are all weather permitting. Weather permitting, we go up in the KC-135 with the Maine Air National Guard and the Black Hawk helicopters with Maine Army National Guard. This year, the weather for the full week was pretty much overcast and rainy, so neither one of those flights happened. We did get to meet with the guardsmen and take tours of the aircraft and everything else. The key is to get that networking in. Flights are great, but it's all about the jobs as well.
Yeah. All right. Any questions?
That was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank
I
you.
like that.
And
Thank you
get
for
those
having
dates
me.
out as soon as you possibly can, because I know people get their kids signed up for camp really early for all the different camps.
Well, that's why I can tell you what North and Midcoast are. I actually run the Midcoast camp. I'm the director for that camp. I also work the North camp, and I come down here and I will help on this camp. I don't run it, I don't set the agenda, but I'm here representing Maine Age Camp for the full week. So I take time off from work to do it because to me it's that important. For those of you who don't know the aviation industry as a whole, pilots, mechanics, if you look online for jobs, there are hundreds of them, and I believe Boeing put out a report about a month or so ago saying in the next 10 or 15 years, there'll be a couple million jobs available as pilots and mechanics. It's in that dire straits. Most of the pilots out there are veterans, and most of them are aging out at this point and retiring. So that's what we're looking to fill that gap.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. On to our next. We have a presentation on the Sanford Fire Department's command vehicles, and I want you to know I asked AC Rick Smith, hopefully I got your title correct, to please speak on this. I saw his presentation at the subcommittee, and I realized that people think that they just drive around in those red vehicles, and they are so much more than that, that I thought the public needs to see your presentation, because I thought it was fantastic. I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you. So take it away.
Click wrong. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Rick Smith. I'm the Assistant Chief of Operations for the Sanford Fire Department, for maybe the 2 or 3 people left that don't know me. Again, like the mayor said, I'm here to present on command vehicles and how it's basically a rolling multi-tool. If you haven't ever approached one or had the opportunity to look inside one, you wouldn't know the vast amount of equipment that each one carries. So I presented it to Public Safety Subcommittee. The mayor found it very informative and requested that I come to this meeting. And I had a few interactions with the public where they, we were talking, whatever, and they looked in, they're like, wow, look at all that stuff in there. So I took some pictures at different incidents, or had pictures provided to me, such as the one you see there, as we were able to use the equipment. Obviously, when we're at large incidents, we're not taking pictures of us working. So thank you to Diane Conley for providing these action shots. So command vehicles, the command vehicles for the city of Sanford respond to all major incidents. They provide a system of organization and command for all of our incidents. So in the back, when I show you later, there is boards and set up for us to keep track of all the different firefighters working on the scene, what their tasks are, what their roles are, and where they are, so that we have accountability if something goes wrong or if we need to modify our tactics. The command and accountability are major factors when it comes to incident and firefighter safety. To safely operate at a scene, we need to know where our people are at all times and what they're doing at all times. It's one of the things that we found in every single report that revolves around firefighter line of duty deaths are a lack of accountability and a lack of communication, and that's the 2 major priorities that these vehicles do. They take accountability and provide communication for the incident. They also carry equipment to cover many different types of emergencies. Basically, I break the equipment they carry into a couple of categories, the main category being incident command equipment. They carry radios with multiple channels and multiple frequencies. We work in an area where Sanford operates on its own set of channels, but we work with all the towns around us for any major incident, and so we have to be able to have communications with all of them. And we run into the more complicated issue where we operate on certain set of frequencies and other towns work on different frequencies. And so we have to be able to communicate with all of them. And so we have the technology to be able to do that inside these cars, where we can create a communications network for everybody to be able to talk together no matter where they're coming from. We also carry spare portables and communication devices to hand out if a crew came without the ability to communicate with us, especially when we get into very large incidents and we're pulling crews from the Seacoast region of New Hampshire or up into Cumberland County on some of these larger incidents. We carry that command board. That's that whiteboard you see at the bottom with the Velcro strips. That's used to track all crews working on the scene. Every member of the department, when they're assigned to the truck that day, have 2 tags, a red tag and a white tag. On those tags go their name, and it contains their rank. So when they respond to an incident, they can hand that tag off to the incident commander, and then we'll be able to track them using that tag system. Every town around us has the same or very similar tag system, and so that's how we track crews from outside. Small incidents, it's easy to track your crew. It's a handful of people, you know where they are, and we know them by name and face, and I know their families and their kids and everything like that. When you get into larger incidents, multiple hundreds of firefighters, something like the Mill Fire, where we had almost 200 firefighters from all over southern Maine and southern New Hampshire there working. I mean, I knew most of them by name, but I've been in this industry a long time. We don't know all of them, and so we need to be able to track them and have accountability for them, so if we had something such as a collapse or other major problem happen at the incident, we would know who was working, what they were doing in the area of where that incident may have occurred. We carry firefighting equipment. We carry an SCBA, our PPE, which is personal protective gear. SCBA stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. I too get lost in the alphabet soup. Much like the aviation guy, we use a lot of acronyms.
Not as bad as the school department.
We carry our technical rescue gear as we are continuing our venture into confined space, getting into high angle and low angle rescue to be able to provide a full rescue system for the citizens here. We carry a personal portable radio, which is, if we're mobile, away from the car, we have the ability to communicate. And then we have hand tools, so if we first respond to an incident, we are able to enact some type of rescue and we can provide assistance. Because we're always out and about, going to meetings or council or whatever it may be, sometimes we end up being the first people to an incident, and so we want to be able to enact rescue if we are so called to do. We carry EMS equipment. So we start with our basic personal protective equipment. We carry gloves, masks. We also carry a ballistic vest. Each of us is assigned one. For medical equipment, we have AEDs, oxygen bottles, masks, nebulizers, and then what we call the orange bag, or many places refer to as a first-in bag, which carries vital taking equipment, medications, and wound care. Basically, it's a big rolling multi-tool, right? It's an SUV full of equipment to be able to provide a myriad of emergency services to the citizens that it's there to protect. With the promotion of AC walk-ins, now all 3 chiefs are paramedics, and we respond first line to assist with medical calls and things like that. If someone goes into cardiac arrest, the closest unit is going to immediately respond, whether it's a chief officer, an engine, an ambulance, whatever it may be, and then we all respond to be able to resolve that incident and make that difference. When we talk about NFPA and NIOSH, which are 2 groups that oversee firefighter line of duty deaths, they both state that incident command and accountability are essential at all incidents. And as incidents get larger, those become more complicated, and we need more equipment to be able to run the accountability at those incidents. And whenever there's a failure of these areas, they often lead to line of duty deaths, the deaths of a firefighter while performing their duties. And so those are things that we try to avoid. That's a quick and down and dirty of kind of what we do with our command vehicles. As always, I'm always here for questions. My email is available on the city's website. You can always swing by the station, and I will be more than happy to talk to you till I'm blue in the face about firefighting, EMS equipment, and our jobs. It's a passion of mine, as you guys know. So do you guys have any questions for me here and now?
Is that a warning so we shouldn't stop by because you will not stop talking?
Mayor, I take my coffee black. If you want to come by, I'll be happy to talk to you about firefighting or EMS. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 14.
Oh,
Almost 15 years with the city. This is my passion, so I'm happy to talk about
we
it.
can tell. Any questions? Ann?
More a comment. When we had this at the Public Safety Subcommittee meeting, or I'll say the comment again, I guess, I shared that this was so helpful from a budgetary standpoint to better understand when we're talking about command vehicles, which have been a point of conversation in the budget process. It's really helpful to better understand now how they're decked out and what their use is. And I will say at some point, our police department is missing a command vehicle, which is something we have to think about down the road as well. But the big question I have for you, AC Smith, is do you ever lip sync while driving your command vehicle? Do you sing in your command vehicle at all?
Don't answer that. Really, this is a setup.
I know this is a setup because I have a great boss who's already tipped me off. And I'll challenge anybody. Because if you've ever been parked across from me at any stoplight in the city, I'm exactly doing that in my car. Luckily, they think I'm probably on the phone now because everybody's hands-free, or I'm talking. I'll just hold the mic up maybe while I'm driving around. I'll look a little more inconspicuous, but absolutely.
Ann, when is the date of that?
It's October 19th, and I still owe Chief Susie an email. I got a little caught up, but and more details are coming out. So
Okay, all right. Any other questions? And I really appreciate your presentation because I too probably thought you just drove around in a red car having fun. So it's good to know that there's a ton of equipment in there. Also, I do believe, as Ann said, it should help us. The police department needs a command vehicle, and it'll help the citizens understand why they're so expensive too, because there's a lot of equipment that needs to go in there.
Yeah, the car is usually not any more expensive than a person buying a car that's bought a
Yeah.
car. I shouldn't say that post-pandemic, they're very expensive, but it's all the stuff that goes into it and outfitting them appropriately. And you know, I believe Chief Small's still here. Yeah, we've worked with them since the shooters hoax to talk about command vehicles, their placement, and how they can better equip themselves. And we've offered at any of their incidents to respond and assist, and we've been able to do that in a few circumstances because it's important that we all work together to do this type of stuff.
And I also heard a rumor that you do other presentations or you respond to other calls for emergency type things, even if it isn't in Sanford. So I think, is Iron Tails in Alfred?
It's in Acton. Yep.
Oh, it's in Acton.
Yep.
Okay, and they had an emergency call and you just showed up.
Yeah, so Sanford got called because Acton was already out on another call, so the ambulance was coming from Springvale. I'm a resident of Acton. I live around the corner from Iron Tails, and so it was for a man that had collapsed. So I was working on my house. I dropped my tools and ran over there and rendered aid until the ambulance got there.
Well, it's good you didn't bring the house tools.
When you show up with a carpenter's belt, they get very confused.
Well, thank you for doing that too, more than just our community, helping other communities. We really appreciate that. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the
Council.
presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, now for public participation, and Jeff Dwarwin. And I always get that. I know there's two ways to pronounce that name. Did I do the right pronunciation? Come on up, introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and just to tell you the rules of public participation, because I usually try to educate the public every chance I get, because it's the teacher in me. Public participation is, we hear from the public, from Sanford Springville residents. We do not vote on or make comments back or ask questions unless something isn't clear. And then we decide if it needs to go on an agenda, or we can do it through a subcommittee. So that's the process. So we're not being rude by not speaking to you, but we only get one side of
that's fine.
stuff. Okay, go ahead,
All
take
right.
it away.
So every time I come in here, it's usually kind of doom and gloom, but I'll start out positive. Sanford Sewer District, that team's awesome. I had some issues at the house, and it's 1946, our whole septic in the area was installed, and we got some issues, so.
I saw your pictures.
Yeah, they did awesome. That crew, awesome group of guys. I hooked them up with a little Dairy Queen, so they were pretty happy. I got connections, so.
Water's pretty good, too.
Yeah, right. So anyway, I'll get into the kind of concerns I got. So, since obviously, and I hate beating a dead horse, the ATV stuff, right? Years ago, water under the bridge. I also mountain bike, I hike. So I live right on the rail trail. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start adventuring out. Because we got, 30 plus trails in town. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen some of the pictures I've been sharing. It's awful. And I don't know the answer. I'm just here. I just know some of the interactions that I've had with some city folk in here even. I send them some info. Hey, I found a hot spot. The reply back is, that's private property. We can't touch it, which I understand that. My next question, which I never got an answer to, but then I figured it out on my own, was, does the city notify the landowner when this is happening?
Camping?
What's that?
Camping?
Camping, anything, disposal of rubbish on private property. I never got an answer back, but I figured it out because I know a couple of the landowners. One in particular was Mr. Faulkner, was my orthodontist for years. He lives in Vermont. Property right behind my mother's, actually. We hiked through there. There's an old ATV trail, and it was destroyed last year, right? I sent some pictures to the city, got some answers back, asked, well, do you guys notify Mr. Faulkner that his property's destroyed? Look into it. Fell on deaf ears. I didn't hear nothing. I called him. He had no idea. So my question is...
Well, first of all, thank you for doing that.
Yes. My question is, because I compare it to vandalism. If I see someone spray painting someone's house, I'm going to say something. Why aren't we letting these taxpayers know their property's being destroyed while they're out of town or whatever? They have no idea. And then it sounds like, and I don't expect the town to go clean this mess. It's not the city's fault. It's what we're in. You know, we're in this weird, you know, homeless slash, and I say homeless lightly. I know a lot of them are homeless. A lot of it's just addiction, right? I actually had a good interaction today. I went hiking this morning, ran into a gentleman. He is legit homeless. His site, I would stay there. Meticulously maintained. One of many, because I've been pretty far through all the trail system, and it ain't like that. This guy is one of a kind, I swear. And he's on the list. He's trying to get help. Gave him a couple bucks, helped him out, you know. And I get that, but we got to get these drugs off the street. Just like this, I said 2 meetings ago, I know it's a huge feat. There's not an answer. It's in every town. I understand that. The problem is we can't keep up with the trail maintenance now, you know? And that was kind of like, if you saw my thing, I said, oh, the ATV club, blah, blah. We used to take care of a lot of that, but this is a whole new breed of trash. You can't just go picking. There's needles everywhere. This is a biohazard. And one of these sites that I showed recently is right along Mousom River, right at the end of, you mentioned Syro, where all this industrial park, you know, we got businesses going in there. You go right off into the woods next to these new businesses that are starting, it's bad. I mean, some of it was dumped, you could tell. Some of that might be orange bags. I know that's a whole other subject, but you got these fly-by-night guys picking up trash for people, charging $30 a week. They were dumping that stuff in the woods because they didn't want to pay to get rid of it. So it's a lot of stuff compiled. I know there's no easy answer for you guys to find, but I'm going to continue my journey. Now that the ATV stuff is done for me, my business had to close, unfortunately. Pratt weekends, I got 4 days of hiking now. So I will continue to post. It's the way I do it. I apologize if it gives you heartache and a headache, but I think people need to know this is happening in our town. There's one right actually over by, Friendship Park? And my brother just sent me pictures from 20 minutes ago, right behind Sivney's nice building. It's a dumping ground back there. There's needles everywhere. That just happened since the encampment kind of got kicked out, you know? So we're looking at spending money. Why can't we take some grant money and find a building to put a clinic in to help these people? They need help. They need to get off the street.
And your time is up.
Yep.
But I do want to make one comment, and typically we don't. The whole needle program, if you could send us those pictures when
Yep.
you're out, because I'm arranging a meeting with the governor because it's a state issue about having permits here in Sanford where they can then give so many needles out, which has been a problem, a really big problem.
And I get the exchange. It's supposed to make it cleaner for the users, but we're not the users. Now the dogs, I don't even bring my kids hiking on these trails anymore.
Absolutely.
They want to come with me, and I don't dare because I never know what I'm going to find around the corner. It's scary.
Yeah.
You know, right off of Going Spot. Sorry, I can get down, but
That's all
yeah,
right. You
there's-
might consider taking Narcan with you in case you've got a dog and something does
I don't
happen.
bring my dog. I just go by
Okay,
myself,
okay.
and I don't touch
Good.
nothing. I just take pictures as I go. And like I said, it's everywhere. You might not see it in Springvale. I know that end. I walk that a lot. It's cleaner from basically Main Street toward Hanson's Ridge isn't too bad out there.
All
When
right.
you start getting into the inner workings of town, it's bad. It ain't good. So
Think of it as where it's close to resources. Walmart's
Yeah.
close, a resource.
right, yeah, and where there's water, wherever
Yeah.
there's water, that's usually where they set up shop. So
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right. Mike, are you presenting for somebody who is a resident here?
Actually, yes, I am.
Are they here to tell us that?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And who is that? Okay. Would you mind coming up to the mic and giving us your name and just tell us where you live? And then, Mike, I'm going to have you stand by him because I know how hard it is for some people to speak.
Hi, my name is Dustin Cody. I live at 49 Oxford Street, right in Sanford.
Okay, thank you. And so it's okay for Mike to speak for you?
Yep.
All right, thank you very much. And just to let you know, before the meeting, if you ever want your daughter to come up here and look at our bank of computers here so she could see how it all works, that would be fantastic, you know?
Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, Mike, this is your big chance.
So-
You've got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, so Dustin Cody reached out to me middle of May regarding Oakdale Cemetery. They went down with a bunch of volunteers to clean up the cemetery from the leaves, debris. As you guys stated, the big storm that we had at the end of the year really did demolish it. I don't know who it was, but the volunteer crew that was there said that the city of Sanford said if they brought everything to the roadways, that a crew from Sanford, city of Sanford was going to come pick it up. It went 2 weeks, still hadn't been picked up, so we're getting really close to Memorial Day. That's when I got involved. They reached out to me, asked me if I would come in with my dump trucks, and they could load me all up so we could remove the debris. I did attempt to go down to the Sanford transfer station. They said my trucks weren't registered in Sanford. I didn't have a dump sticker. I explained it came from Oakdale Cemetery. Their crews that were there were approved by the city to go in there to clean it up. They said, sorry, they couldn't do it, so I hauled it out of town to my spot and got rid of the material. Fast forward, a couple weeks later, Mr. Cody was having to maintain his daughter's cemetery plot. It was not being mowed. I absolutely understand staff shortages. I've been there myself previously with staff shortages. This has been going on since May, and it kept getting, the staff were falling behind. I feel really bad for the staff. I think the staff there absolutely care. I think they want to do a really good job. I just think they're overwhelmed.
And you did hear we've got another person we
Yes.
just hired. Yeah.
So I did reach out originally to Park and Recs. I felt, and it was just my opinion, I felt that I was kind of getting brushed off. So my next step was I reached out to the city manager. I noticed he was also on the Board of Trustees for the cemetery. I sent an email. I also sent a phone message. I heard nothing. So as time progressed, I made some posts on Facebook about some pictures to draw some attention. After a while, I then now came in here last week, learned that I'm not allowed to speak. Glad you were able to accommodate and get this to happen. I think that a lot of this could have been handled and prevented a lot sooner if the people had reached back and got back to people. So there was attempts made, not calling anybody out per se, but there was attempts made, and this has been going on. My biggest concern is these veteran graves. When I went in there and I saw, just yesterday, 17-inch tall grass. I do have images of 17-inch tall grass on veterans' graves. We all get caught up in the mowing, and it does grow fast. I've dealt with it. But we do have crew members that could, from Park and Recs, jump off a ball field or whatever for a day, really help out the crew that's over there, get it in shape. I think once it's actually in shape, I think they'll be able to keep up. When I did go there yesterday, the areas that were not trimmed before, were trimmed. So there was some attempts, but we need to clean the stones off. I mean, there's some that are completely covered in grass. So it's just a respect issue.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for anybody out there who wants to volunteer to do some city work like that, which Mike did, if we could prearrange it, then we probably could have had a way for you to have dumped it at our place. So, all right, good. Super. Let's keep going. Public hearings. I do have one email about the public hearing, and it came in kind of late. And just to let me get my glasses, it's from Deb Butler, and she's a Sanford resident. And so when I go down through all of these, I'll be reading, let me explain public hearings. What happens is I open a hearing, I read the one hearing, and I close the hearing if there are no comments and stuff. So we say for and against. And then we go on to the next one. So Deb said that she is in opposition to all of these. So I'll let you know right now that we have, what? Oh, she said number 1, so it's not. So hers must start with number 2?
This is a 1, 2.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I've got to figure out which one she's now referring to, because it's not. Starts with the third one, okay. And goes all the way, the last one being Blossom. Yep, so it goes all the way to the end there. So just to let everyone know that from 3 on, and I will again state that she's in opposition each time. I am not going to read her whole thing, because at the end, she speaks about a personnel person, and I don't believe that anytime you say something negative about somebody that we hire, it is done in public. It should always be done in executive session. I think it's inappropriate to say that. So you'll notice if somebody goes on and on about a person and they say their name, I will always stop the meeting, because I think that's inappropriate. So I'm not going to read the second part of her email, because it would be inappropriate. So let's see how we do throughout all this. And to let people know, I do have dyslexia. I have the kind that the letters all go like this. So sometimes, I mean, this is a long reading, so sometimes as I get reading, I will say the wrong words. Bear with me. All right, we will get through it, because Maura will always correct me. So it works out perfectly well. All right, here we go. I'm going to open the first hearing to discuss the Community Development Block Grant for 2024 Housing Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $300,000 to be used for assistance to Habitat for Humanity to complete 4 single-family houses in Sanford. So do we have anybody speaking in favor? Yes. Amy Nucci, come on down. I think we're getting used to your great presentations.
I was going to say, pretty soon you'll be able to do this presentation. Great, thank you. Okay, so I know I have been here a few times recently, but I'd like to just kind of give a brief overview of our program. I think most people, when they think of Habitat for Humanity, they do think of our homeownership program. We are, I believe, the only organization in York County serving the income bracket that we serve, which is up to 60% of the area median income. Folks apply to our program just like they would apply to a conventional lender. They provide all the information and documentation, income, credit scores. We look at all of those things to assess our first criteria, which is the ability to pay. The common misconception is that we give our homes away. We do sell them through an affordable mortgage. The second thing we assess in our application process is the need for safe, decent, and affordable housing. I think you can't turn on the TV without hearing that we're in an affordable housing crisis. So everybody who applies to us has a need pretty much for affordable housing, unless they're living with family or another situation like that. But we also look at the condition of the property. Is it overcrowded? Is it substandard? Are all the utilities functioning? And then we take that information coupled with the financial information and put it into basically a score sheet that's anonymous, and we use that to hopefully be able to rank the applicants, again, anonymously, and select our top applicant from there. And the third criteria we use is the willingness to partner. Kind of a cornerstone of our program is that all of our home buyers complete either 200 hours if they're a single head of household, or 400 hours if it's a dual head of household, of what we call sweat equity throughout the construction of their home, whether that's helping build their home, volunteering in our restore, and also going to pre-purchase classes in home ownership counseling. So we are very excited. Of our 36 homes, 7 of them have been completed to date in Sanford and Springvale. In 2023, we dedicated a home on Normand Avenue. No, 2024. 2024, we dedicated a home on Normand Avenue, and then we just completed the second of 2 homes on Allen Street as well. So in the last 8 months, we've created homes for 3 households here in Sanford. And that's really in part because of the partnership of the city, whether it's been the process of acquiring property, applying for CDBG funding on Allen Street, working creatively with other municipal offices to figure out how to really make a property work. I can't say enough positive things about working with the city and the staff. So thank you for your support. These are examples of the homes that we've completed most recently in Sanford. The green one is on Kirk Street. We completed that in 2019. The bluish one is our second Allen Street home. That's a 3-bedroom modular home. The next one, the kind of tan one, that's the 2-bedroom home from Allen Street. And then the one in the snow is the 3-bedroom on Normand Avenue, which is also modular. And that's kind of a new thing we introduced with the Normand Avenue home is modular construction. We're trying to figure out how to increase our construction capacity without really increasing our overhead. And we find that modular allows us to compress our timeline and keep our expenses down. The project that we're here talking about today is a lot that we purchased from the city a couple years ago. 3 Beaver Hill. We're looking to put 4 units on this property. We're working right now with city staff before we go before the planning board onto exactly what that configuration is going to look like. But we have selected the first 2 households for that, and then we'll be opening up the application route for the second 2 households in October, and we'll be trying to, spread the word far and wide about that. But that, I think, is sort of a brief overview of this project. The CDBG funding is really critical. One of the challenges of our program is always fundraising, but we work with the USDA for our first home loan. So the sooner we can sell a house, the sooner we can take that money and put it back into more houses. So this $300,000 of CDBG funding, what it really helps us do is buy those first 2 modular homes, or go toward the site work, or get those first 2 homes going so that we can get the home buyers in those homes, close on their homes, and turn around and recycle that funding to support the following projects. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
No, they're great projects. I've been to at least 2 I've been able to make where you hand over the keys. It's a great ceremony. It's really nice. You should try to make it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here to speak against? Okay, this hearing is closed. Let's move on to the next one. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against a new liquor license with malt and vinous privileges from Pro Time Asian Cuisine, LLC, on 890 Main Street, Sanford, Maine. Is there anybody here to speak for? Anybody to speak against? This hearing is closed. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Blossom LLC DBA Hyperon for the marijuana manufacturer Tier 2 license on 9 Resident Way, Unit 3, Sanford, Maine. Is there anybody here to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Baldacci. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blossom Cannabis. We currently operate 2 medical dispensaries, one in Biddeford and one in Saco, and we have a cultivation facility just outside of Augusta. And actually, licenses 3 through 9 are all related. I'll only speak once.
Okay.
And I'm representing the caregivers. They are all partners of Blossom or our spouses. because Sanford at this time does not allow registered dispensaries, which is what we are, so we'll be participating in the caregiver program. Our intent is to acquire the assets and the real estate associated with 9 Renaissance Way, which is one of your approved properties for cannabis. The property is currently operating under all of these licenses, and we've worked closely with the planning department and code to reapply for the licenses under our LLC, and tonight is just the approval process, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have or the public has about the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And is there anybody else to speak against? And let me see, Deb Butler, and she's speaking against all of these, and her concern is that the new license are being proposed in the same area as Secure RMS, which is affiliated with Waypoint, and Waypoint clients work in the Secure RMS facility. So she's concerned about that effect. So that'll apply to all of these. All right. Is there anyone else to speak against? Okay, I'll close this hearing. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Robert Baldacci for a medical marijuana grow cultivation license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 1 through 5, Sanford, Maine. Anybody to speak? We already had the for. Anyone else to speak for? Anyone against? Okay, close this hearing. And just to let you know, I did date a Baldarci in junior high. So I think it has to be the grandparent. I'm hoping it's not the great-grandparent.
Or maybe just the parent.
Peter. Peter. Is it? We have to talk. The next one is a public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Elizabeth Baldacci for a medical marijuana grower cultivation license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 1 through 4, Sanford, Maine. Anybody to speak for? Anybody to speak against? I close this hearing. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by, I won't get the name right.
Maria Nazari.
Thank you. Naria Rosari for medical marijuana grower cultivations license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 1 through 3, Sanford, Maine. Anybody to speak for? Anybody to speak against? And I'll keep saying, remember Deb is speaking against. I'll close this hearing. I'll open the next hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Ashley Carr for medical marijuana grower cultivation license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 1 through 2, Sanford, Maine. And we've had somebody for, and we've got somebody against. Anybody else for? Anybody else against? All right, close this hearing. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against new application submitted by David Carr, Jr., for a medical marijuana grower cultivation license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 1 through 1, Sanford, Maine. Anybody additionally to speak for? Anybody additionally speak against? I close this hearing. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against new application submitted by Everglades Real Estate LLC for marijuana establishment Tier 1 license at 9 Renaissance, Sanford, Maine. Anybody additionally to speak for? Anybody against? I close this hearing. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against new application submitted by Blossom LLC DBA Afterglow Edible Company for the marijuana manufacturing Tier 1 license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 2, Sanford, Maine. Anybody to speak for? Anyone to speak against? And keep in mind, Deb is against for all of these. A public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Blossom LLC DBA Stash.
Yeah, like mustache.
Oh, like the name of the place. Okay, I get it. For an adult use marijuana realtor store license at This 9 Renaissance Way is going to be very crowded for
already all in.
Unit 4, Sanford, Maine. Anybody to speak for? Anybody to speak against? I close these hearings. Now for the consent agenda. Are there any comments from the council on the consent agenda? Ann?
Madam Mayor, I just think it might be helpful, especially in light of the against email we received, if somebody might, Jamie, for instance, you be willing to just explain the fact that it's a replacement of an existing licensure, is my understanding, and the space. It's not, it sounds like we're adding, to the email's point, a lot of cannabis activity, when in fact, I think Jamie can clarify that.
Good evening, everybody. Jamie Cole. So yes, this is a complete sale of both building and use. So Mrs. Baldacci is buying the whole property. So this is the property license, the individual caregiver licenses, the manufacturer's license, everything. She bought the whole kit and caboodle. So it does seem like there's a lot going on in this building. This has been happening for several years as it is. So she's not proposing anything new in the facility. It's just she is buying out everything that's there. We did change our process, so only new stuff has to come to you. So it is an awful lot at once. It does feel like the building is, wow, there's 8 caregivers. And there are 8 caregivers, but there's currently several caregivers. So really, it is no change. This is just continuing on status quo. It just appears as a lot because this is the first time we've had a property transfer sale, and all of the license had to be renewed at once. So you guys are used to seeing them come individually, one at a time. So this does appear to be a lot. It is a lot. It's quite the operation. So it's okay.
All right.
And then to speak about the email that you received, just so you guys are aware, the Waypoint facility is in the safe storage property across the street from Renaissance. So they are on the right side of Renaissance Way. Waypoint rents a section of the old cards factory on the other side of Renaissance. Just so you guys have a context of where that's located.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, the consent agenda has been approved. And let's keep moving right along. Now, there's no old business, so there's just new business. Resolved to authorize the city manager to accept 2024 Housing Assistance CDBG grant in the amount of $300,000 for Assist Habitat for Humanity, York County, in the creation of 4 housing units. Do I have a motion? Maura?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Nate?
I'll second and look forward to having some new neighbors near my house on Payne Street.
All right, fantastic.
I have one comment. Watch out where you let them put the driveway or road or whatever, because it's already like a little weird of an intersection. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure you'll keep an eye out.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, the next one, in order to sign the municipal warrant calling for the municipal referendum election to be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, in the new consolidated voting place at Sanford High School and Regional Center, 100 Alumni Boulevard, Sanford. Polls to be opened at 7 a.m. and closed at 8 p.m. In addition, there will be extended office hours to accommodate voters who wish to vote an absentee ballot, register to vote, or update their name and address on the following dates and times. So here you go. I'm going to read a bunch of them, so if you want to write these down if you're listening, but you can always call down to voter registration. Friday, October 18th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Saturday, October 19th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Friday, October 25th, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, October 26th, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And because of October 31st is the last day to request an absentee ballot, the office will remain open till 7 p.m. May I have a motion, please? And you don't have to read the whole thing. You can just say, so moved. More?
I'll make a motion to sign the municipal warrant with all this information.
All right. Ann?
And I would second that.
All those in favor? Thank you. All right, perfect.
So we're going to have an election then.
We're going to have an election.
Would there be no election?
I guess. I don't know. Hey, don't toy with us, guys.
It's a question for the philosophers.
In order to appoint Gregory
Mulcahy.
Mulcahy as the City of Sanford Code Enforcement Officer and alternate plumbing inspector for a period beginning September 4th, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025. All right. Is there anybody speaking about this, or can we
I think he
just...
should come and introduce himself with Jamie, his boss, maybe. You can come up if you'd like, Alex, or you can just comfortably sit there. You're welcome.
Now, I will let you know that I like to embarrass people as much as possible.
He's from Massabesic.
And the police department is a witness to the fact that I like to do it a lot. So that's why, one of the reasons you have to come down and be introduced and stuff. Jamie, would you like to make the honors here?
Yes, I'm proud to present Greg here for you tonight for our consideration for appointment. He is the newest member of the code enforcement staff. He's coming to us from the Maine Forest Service, so a slight change of occupation, but a lot of similarities between them. We are very excited to have him join the team. He actually started last week, and so far he's doing a fantastic job, catching on very quickly.
All right, so the date here that says September 4th, he really isn't starting in 2 days. He already started.
He already started, but he can't accept the official capacity as code enforcement officer until you guys appoint him and Sue swears him in.
All right, fantastic.
And we'll do it again in June.
Yeah, any questions? All right, may I have a motion, please? Nate?
I suppose. No. I move to appoint Gregory Mulcahy to this new position, and congratulations.
Thank you. Pete, second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? All right, don't go away. I think you're on next, too. In order to appoint Gregory Mulcahy as constable for a period beginning September 4th, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025, be it further ordered that his appointment is empowered to enforce civil violations of city code, including any amendments made or emergency ordinances that are approved and adopted by the city council order, and is empowered to serve civil summons for violations of the city code. Be it further ordered that his appointment is not allowed to carry a firearm, good thing, concealed or unconcealed in the performance's duty to make arrests.
But wait, could you as a warden?
Forest Ranger.
Forest Ranger, oh, okay. I was looking at the uniform. I stalked you on Facebook.
Could I have a motion, please? Nate?
So moved.
Ann?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Mayor, we didn't actually get an introduction yet.
Say that
Did
again?
you want him to actually introduce himself?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if we want that before we vote.
I'll spare you
Oh,
this
okay.
time.
This time?
So,
I don't mind, Mayor.
are you, you want to totally introduce yourself? Fantastic.
He's gonna be introducing
I was going to
himself
be
to
nice. All right, go ahead.
My name's Gregory Mulcahy. I was raised in Newfield, Maine, so I went to Massabesic, graduated in 2010, attended the University of New Hampshire for environmental science, graduated there in 2014. A few jobs later, I was lucky enough to be a Maine Forest Ranger from 2018 to just recently. So family changes kind of dictated me wanting to have weekends and holidays off, so that's kind of why I've had the transition. A lot of people have asked me why. Not having to go and work the holidays and getting called out when I'm having dinner with my family is going to be a big bonus for me, but I expect to bring the same level of professionalism into the new job.
Fantastic.
Jamie, how'd you catch him?
That is
Sorry,
fantastic.
we like to tease Jamie, so
So,
congratulations.
did we already vote on that? Okay, but we had a first and a second. All those in favor? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, enjoy. I know Alex could use them.
And I'm still working on those gold badges of some kind for our constables.
Gold,
Yeah,
badge.
we talked about that.
Maybe the last thing Craig can do is he can create a badge that would be appropriate for these guys.
I'm not sure they'd want to.
Maybe Mickey Mouse on it or something like that, or... Okay, so I'm not going to call on him again. All right. In order to appoint Kip Stewart to the Board of Appeals for the term ending December 30th, 2026, pursuant to Section 205.1 of the city, Sanford City Charter.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
And I would second that.
Yeah, Kim has done this job
All those in
before.
favor? Thank you. In order to appoint Ian Kelly to the Board of Appeals to fill the unexpired term ending December 30th, 2024, pursuant to Section 205.1 of the Sanford City Charter. Do I have a motion? Nate?
Move to appoint.
And a second? Second. Bob? All those in
Check him out
favor?
on Facebook. He looks like
You
he'll
did?
be a member,
Okay.
yeah.
All those in favor? Thank you.
I didn't want you to think you were alone. I do it.
In order to authorize fund to pay for day-off costs for public transportation to the high school, day of cost for the transportation to the high school voting location on November 5th. I thought we had a price we were going to put in here.
Steve is probably going to speak. Yeah.
Stevie, okay, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
still
so-
around. This was your vacation.
He's enjoying this meeting, not having to say much.
I am. So in talking with YCCAC about the transportation, they anticipate, well, so we're basing it on a number of 100 people calling in to make appointments for transportation. So it's $3 per trip, $6 round trip. So a budget of $600 would be appropriate for this. Tom Rainhour recommended that we appropriate $800 just to give a buffer there. Looking at, Ron Champlin looked at the finances based upon prior past elections and such versus what we have in the book. We anticipate for the November 5th election that there's cost savings there of approximately $2,060. So we can more than cover that up to $800 worth of expense. Even if it went as high as the $2,000, we could cover that. So we're holding off putting that information on the postcard that will go out to all registered voters until the city council approves this. I know this was one of the questions that was raised when the voter consolidation vote came up, was that the transportation should be resolved, and if the city was paying for it, the city would be in a better position. So where this is a new location and such, we were able to work with YCAC to perfect that transportation. So day of, they will have six drivers that are dedicated with their 12 passenger vans dedicated to worker transport, in the mornings and the evenings, getting people to and from jobs. Those drivers will be available for any time that they're not transporting somebody that's regularly scheduled to go to or from a job, and they're going to put 4 additional drivers. So they'll have 10 drivers out there with 10 vans running the routes that day, specifically to pick people up at their residence, their place of residence, take them to the polls and return them back as a dedicated ride, rather than people trying to have to use the pre-existing public transportation system. So I want to thank York County Community Action for being able to put that together for the city. And I'm here tonight to ask the city council to authorize, we won't know what that expense is yet, but again, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of the $600 to $800, perhaps it's as much as $1,000, but it's $6 round trip for a voter that calls. They're now asking that they call by November 1st, so they can schedule all of this, get this timed in. That would complete the program. So I think that's the city being able to go above and beyond what they have to do in order to accommodate this new consolidation to our voting board. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
So, quick question for you, Steve. On the, I looked at the bus route, and it's actually a really good bus route because it stops at Nassau Health Center, which, as we all know, is the back doors practically kiss each other with the Nassau Community Center. It also goes relatively close to the old St. Ignatius Gym on Riverside. The one thing it doesn't do is dip down into the high school. So that bus is actually really accommodating, except for maybe a dip down into the high school, and I don't know if that would be possible for them that day as well, other than just the individual rides, to dip down into the high school on their way around Shaw's. I think that's where they are.
Yeah, in communications with the transportation coordinator, Tom Raynauer, indicated that people could take that particular bus or the other buses, and they could get dropped off at the high school. The problem is, it's going to be an hour plus by the time that same bus comes back through to pick them back up. So we strongly encourage people to call, make an appointment. They can be picked up, it's doorstep to doorstep as far as the voting process is concerned. So perhaps a little bit more logistics, but far better service, doorstep to doorstep on day of voting.
Okay.
All right. Anyone with any questions? Can I have a motion, please? Ann?
I'd like to make a motion to order the authorization of funds to pay for day of cost for public transportation to the Sanford High School voting location on November 5th.
And did you put the amount of money in there?
Yes.
I don't think
800?
we want,
It was 800, right, Steve?
well, then he said 1,000.
Yeah, I'd be most comfortable with 1,000.
1,000?
Okay, of up to 1,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
I would second that, seeing as I was the one making the stink about it at the last meeting, so.
The wonderful thing is York County Community Action is such a wonderful partner in so much of what we do. I know that they agree that this is very important to make sure we have transportation. So.
All those in favor? Thank you. And now we're down to the final two things. Do we have any comments from the City Council? Maura?
Yes, I actually wrote it down. Okay. So over the past, probably last week I did it because I didn't do it too early. Anyway, I contacted the moderators that usually do the candidates night, and we picked dates. I asked them this year to do 2 different nights because I find it gets too late and it doesn't give enough time in a year like this year where we have state and local candidates. So this is going to be the schedule. October 8th, we can't start until 6 p.m. because there's voting in this room. So starting at 6 p.m. on October 8th, which is, I believe, a Tuesday, we will have the local candidates, so school committee, city council, and mayor positions. That will give plenty of time for good questions, good responses, and the next night, October 9th, we will do the state candidates, representatives for districts 141, 142, and 143, those people who are running for those spots, and the state senator for Sanford. I think it's 33. I can't quite remember, but it doesn't matter. There's just one that does Sanford, plus some other towns. So the moderators, as I said, confirm the dates, and the room has been booked. The night will be televised and will stream through the month of October and up until Election Day on WSSR-TV, so you can get to know your candidates, on the YouTube station for WSSR-TV, and on the local cable stations where available. Questions will be finalized by the moderators with input from the local newspaper reporters at the Sanford Springvale paper, as well as they usually seek input from Facebook, social media. As everybody, I do not see the questions. I never asked to see the questions. My job, make nameplates, get a timer who can stand there and go 30 seconds, 1 minute. That's what then the last thing I have to, water. I make sure there's water. So I'm here taping up names in between the candidates, making sure everybody has water, and making sure we have a timer, and I book the room. And I send out the invitations, I should say. Sue will usually help me with email addresses, regular addresses, so just all that little grunt work. When I'm running for office, typically someone else on this board has to do it. So keep that in mind for the election if I have to run in 2 years. So there you go.
And that starts at 6?
6, because the early voting doesn't finish until 5:30. Yes, Jamie.
Just so you know, I purchased a digital timer. I have a public hearing tomorrow at Planning Board that I think is going to be well attended, so I have a digital timer that we can keep right up there and can be used during city council meetings or any of these type of events. It's big sits and stutters, so it'll show up on the cameras, it'll show up in person. It's remote control, so somebody can restart it every time somebody speaks.
Yeah.
Just wanted you to know that we got the timer
just
taken
usually hold
care
up
of.
cards that says 1 minute left, 30 seconds
We
left.
don't have that, but it's a digital timer that if they have 3 minutes, it starts at 3 minutes, it goes down to 0, and then it bangs when you're up.
Okay.
So there's no question, it's fair, it's equitable, it's everything.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Any other, Pete?
Yeah, I do. It's about the needle program, and I would like us to put on the next agenda to,
That's the next thing.
oh, it's the next thing? Okay, I'll go on that one.
Hold your thought. All right. Ann?
A couple of really quick things. One, I want to share that I submitted my paperwork, my nomination paperwork for city council. So hopefully I got enough registered voters here in Sanford to have that approved. And I look forward to being on the ballot and being part of candidates night on the 8th. The other thing is I just want to say to my fellow city councilors and for the public that might be listening, I know how much community effort each and every one of us put in as not as counselors but as just people that care deeply about our community, and we do it in various ways. What the mayor does is different from what the deputy mayor does, and what Pete does is different from what I do, and so forth. But we're all extremely active in our community in different ways, in different areas and sectors of our community, and I just want to say I see you, and when we have social media talking about the lack of counselors, being part of the community, it just appalls me. They don't really know us, right? And what we really do as people, as community members and neighbors. So I just wanted to say that. And then the last thing is that school started today, which is super exciting.
Children.
I have no kids. I sent no kids, no first day of school kids pictures, but a reminder about buses and looking out for those stop signals. And we will have a little bit of increased traffic while buses are figuring routes out and so forth. So patience is always helpful this time of year, I find. So thank you.
I got caught waiting to leave my parking lot today. I think it was all the middle school buses because the person with me recognized her kid's bus and she says, "Oh, I should be able to beat them home." And it was a line of, I don't know, 8 to 10 buses. They all got out together. So it was fun to see. It was fun to see.
All right. Nate?
I'll just make also a brief comment that I've also turned in papers for nomination to keep my seat. I did that this evening. Look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on candidate night. Please send questions. I think people who live in the city have sort of the best questions to ask us that we can maybe clear up some, some unknown information, or we can really get our viewpoints on what matters most to everyone who lives here. So thank you.
Excellent. And I'll make that a trifecta because I also submitted my papers as mayor. So this is exciting that we would continue. And we obviously didn't get fed up with one another if we're still willing to go. And I will make the comment that each person up here does represent a different segment of our community. We come from different backgrounds. And all of us volunteer for various organizations, in our community. So when you think you come up and you can only be a one-item person to be on this council, it's probably the wrong job for you. You really need to be out there in the community so you know what the citizens of Sanford really want. So I thank you guys for all the service that you do. Now, I'm not going to go on to future agendas first because I still have another comment. We have been invited to tour the Nassau Apartments, and so I wanted to find a date that's possible, and I wasn't given any date that they were open, so I'm just assuming that we can choose a date. And Bob, when are you back?
I'm back, including jet lag. I'd be available the 18th.
The 18th.
September.
Okay. So, and Larissa, did they want us to do that later in the day? I don't want to do it too late because it needs to be light enough to be able to see.
Yeah, I think they said.
Okay, so we can do it either mornings or afternoons. So Nate, you would be our concern with your job.
I will attempt to check on that real quick here.
Ann?
Well, Madam Mayor, I wonder what folks would think about combining, it seems appropriate to me, the September 24th Housing Forum at 6 p.m. with a tour just prior to that. I mean, it seems like a nice segue from one to the other, and I could even pack a picnic or something to have.
That would be good because then we wouldn't, so we could do that. I don't know how long it's going to take, but probably 4 o'clock.
Oh gosh, it won't take 2 hours, will it? I would say less.
I know, but to get back here and everything.
gotcha.
So driving time? Because there's 3 big apartments. So I don't know if he's taking us in them to look around, or,
4:30, I could make that.
yeah. They said not late, they said late afternoon.
Let's go 4:30, then he has a chance.
4:30?
I think 4:30 could make it work.
You just put your foot on that gas pedal and zoom right here. Okay, so,
If I get pulled over by Sanford PD, I'll let them know. You heard it first.
Put your hazards on, Nate.
Yeah.
so 4:30 on September 24th for the apartments? All right, so we've got that part done. Now, does anyone have any future agenda items? And Pete, this is now your turn.
Yes.
Needles. I'm just going to remind you.
Okay, so I really want to put on discussion for the next city council to get rid of the needle program. It's supposed to be safe access, it's supposed to be harm reduction, and it's done exactly the opposite across our state. Sanford has spent how much money cleaning up? Where's the state to give us that money? And then they're saying that they have no idea that this is causing this across the state. I don't buy it. There's no monetary value to have this in our city at all. I think our public works, everybody that works for the city, they need a break too. Same with the PD. We got Portland that shut down their encampments. We had Biddeford shut down their encampments, and they all came here because of the needles and the free food. So I would like to seriously get rid of it. And I've worked with medical marijuana since 2011. We've had a 100% success rate for everybody getting off heavy drugs. And to see this just being enabled, it bothers me as your city leader, as your counselor. And I feel I'm failing you if I don't call for this to get out of our city. So I would like that to be seriously gone over. Bring in who you want. For experts, they've all failed. And I think this program is a failure. And I know people that have died, and they've had needles stuck in their arms. Oh, we got free needles, they're clean. Well, the people don't know how to clean their skin when they're spaced out of it, and they break needles in their arms and into their bones. One girl that sobered up for 18 months, she realized what she did to herself, and she ended up ODing. Her skin was hanging off her arms because she had needles stuck in her bones and in her veins, and she had so much surgery when she sobered up. She realized she was beyond helping, which is horrible to say. I want to avoid that, so especially on our property. So that's where I'm holding the stance. I want this out of here. So thank you for listening to me.
All right, thank you very much. And anybody else, future agenda? Ann?
Just as a reminder, I wanted to bring forward the discussion of planting a Christmas tree to the next property subcommittee meeting. I think that's already on there. And then I also was wondering if we could have a presentation, if this is the appropriate way to do it, from Public Works on how folks can go about getting pre-approved cleanup and the best approach to that. There are a lot of folks that are interested in doing cleanups, myself included. There's an area that I run by regularly that needs a little cleanup done. So I don't know if we could just get that steps, and it's on, I think there's website information, but a little presentation might be helpful. Again, I don't know if that's at City Council or Public Property Sub. And then the last thing is that it's been quite some time since there's been any discussion on our disorderly property ordinance that came about, I want to say 4 years or 5 years ago, related to properties that have repeated calls for noise and other violations. I'd love to have a quick conversation at Public Safety, whether this month or next month, about if that ordinance is being put to use, and maybe even discussion about properties that are hitting that level of volume of repeated calls. I think we have some in our community that are achieving that. And so I'd like to have a little bit of discussion there without talking about specific properties that would be disclosing something we don't want to disclose, but just talk about that ordinance a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you very much. It is now 7:50, and this meeting